Hey, what's up, everybody? What's up? What's up? This is Jeff from BKJmacTV, and this is the BKJmac podcast experience. And this is episode 12. And today's episode, we're going to be talking about the review of GodFather 1. Now, I just recently saw the film in addition to GodFather 2, and I'm in the process of finishing watching GodFather 3, so I will share the review for GodFather 2 and 3 very shortly. GodFather 1 is an interesting movie. It's very interesting. It creates this whole narrative about the mafia. I think anybody wanted to know, what is this wall, this history, this family, the mafia family, the Italian mafia family. People wanted to know what was the inner workings, how did they manage certain things, who was in charge, who was giving orders to carry out certain acts. People wanted to know. There was a massive level of curiosity. If you look at history, especially in New York and Chicago, they have mob families, Al Capone, the Lucchese family. There's so many different types of families. Lucky Luciano. There's so many different types of families, but people didn't really get to understand the inner workings of them. So there was a curiosity, and an author, Mario Puzo, and Coppola basically came together and said, "Hey." Puzo wrote the book, and the director came in and with a deal with Paramount was able to get the work done, and because of that, Coppola and Puzo was able to get it in the theaters. Coppola was able to get it in the theaters through Paramount. It was an interesting movie. We got The Godfather. Who is The Godfather? Well, in Godfather 1, we are introduced to the Corleone crime family. This is Don Vito Corleone. So the movie starts off in 1945, New York City. So I'll read you the plot a little bit. In 1945, New York City, Corleone crime family Don Vito Corleone listens to requests during his daughter Connie's wedding to Carlo, Michael, Vito's youngest son, and a former Marine, introduces his girlfriend Kay Adams to his family at a reception. Johnny Fontana, a popular singer and Vito's godson, seeks Vito's help in securing a movie role. Vito sends his concierge Tom Hagen to persuade studio head Jack Waltz to offer Johnny the part. Waltz refuses Hagen's request at first, but soon complies after finding a surprise in his bed. I'm not going to tell you what that surprise was, but it was pretty gruesome, and I think there was a lot of shows that did parodies of it over the years, of that big surprise in the director's bed. The movie just lets you know the day-to-day operations, day-to-day life of the Corleone family. There was a undertaker that talks to Vito Corleone. He says his daughter was viciously attacked. He tried to follow the right way, the right approach, calling the police, arresting the person that attacked his daughter. I even went as far as to go to court, but then the court basically slaps him with a parole and sends him free, not paying for his sins of what he did to the Undertaker's daughter. The Undertaker is extremely pissed. He explains this in detail to Vito Corleone, and Corleone says, "Hey, you had nothing to do with me. You didn't even want to embrace my friendship, but now you come to me and ask me for requests." And he says, I see things differently now. That means he saw as if justice did not work for him, and now he wants his own kind of justice. And it's one of the reasons why he visits Vito Corleone. He really asked him for a request to kill the person that has basically savagely beat up and raped his daughter. The Undertaker felt like, he tried to do things the right way, but he felt like this was the other way, the alternative way. And Vito Corleone does this request for him, but in return, he asks the Undertaker, "You will do a service for me. I don't know when I will recall this service, but you are in my debt if I do this request for you." So the Undertaker agrees, but the Undertaker later on in the movie would come back, and the request that he has to pay Don Corleone was so tragic, was so sad, that it brought tears to Vito Corleone's eyes. The Undertaker's eyes were wept as well, as he had to perform this service for the Don. Moving on to Christmas, there's a pressure of narcotics coming into the neighborhood. Cocaine. Apparently cocaine is this big new drug that's hitting the waves, and apparently there's a lot of money that can be made from it. Vito Corleone doesn't want to get involved with drugs because drugs only chases his connections away. Because Corleone, he's connected with politicians, with police officers, judges, and etc., and he doesn't want and he feels like narcotics dealing would only drive away his connections. It's one of the reasons why he resists the drug baron Sazzo. But Sazzo and Tagada come up with ways to basically make sure that Corleone will see their way or the other way, and you don't want to know what the other way is. Hopefully when you watch this movie, you will see how the life really takes one out completely. And what I mean by that is basically Corleone, who assumes control of his family, of the territories, is soon being done up by his own people. It lets you know, can you really trust people in this world? Even though you look a man in his eye and you try to see the truth, sometimes that person will look at you and lie right to your face. And is what Vito Corleone had to deal with throughout the movie. People he had once trusted as he came up to power were now turning on him because they wanted to sell narcotics. They wanted to be rich beyond their wallets. They felt like gambling, prostitution, and weren't enough. They wanted drugs. They wanted to smuggle neighborhoods with tons and tons of drugs. They didn't care. They just didn't care at all. But Vito Corleone cared, and he had to do what he needed to do. But in the end, his life would hang on the balance. Which brings in Michael. Michael, the youngest son of Vito Corleone, didn't want to deal with the life. In fact, he decided to go to the military, become an honorable Marine, and he wanted to live his own life away from the family business. But soon, the family business sucks him in like a tractor beam, and eventually, without giving too much information away, he becomes the lead of the family, and he has to make decisions while his father tries to battle for his own place in the once ever kingdom that he once ruled supreme over. There's so many people that die in this movie. It's like you gotta pay attention to it. You have to pay attention. But each death plays a significant role. They're not empty deaths, so you have to pay attention. There's a lot of betrayal. There's a lot of deceit. There's a lot of basically just so much sin being created in this movie, in this world, in this light, in this reality, all in the name of selling narcotics. They didn't care. Even though gambling and sports and prostitution are sins, they didn't destroy the moral fabric. Alcohol, bootlegging, didn't destroy the moral fabric, but narcotics was too much, and the Corleone didn't want to deal with it. But we saw that these individuals didn't care. All they wanted to do was make a profit, and they wanted to make as much as humanly possible. We're also introduced to Fredo. Fredo is the first son of Vito Corleone. However, he's not born with the proper mental faculties, and because of that, he's always being mistreated by his second brother, Sonny, and his younger brother, Michael. They deemed him as someone that could be used as a driver, as a pusher in the nightclubs. They didn't really trust him. They didn't really build him up. They just used him as a pawn, and in essence, it basically broke him. We don't really get to see the feel of Fredo and how he's being mistreated by his family. All he wants to do is fit in and get a sense of leadership, but it just doesn't play that. He doesn't get that responsibility. And in the movie, Fredo plays a role in that third act, and then you'll see him play a significant role in the second movie, in Godfather 2, which I will discuss in detail. Overall, this movie and the rise of Michael, the fall of Vito Corleone, and the rise of Michael Corleone is in opposite of each other. It's very interesting and it's very intense. You will see lives get destroyed. New lives are being created. It's a movie that basically captures the imagination. Like I said earlier, there are folks out there who wanted to know the life and what the Godfather's existence was, how a mafia Italian crime family ran its operations, and they got to see a fictional one. They borrowed a lot of different real life events in American history dealing with the American mafia, and basically created an amazing fictional story about a fictional mafia crime family that reigned supreme in New York and parts of Las Vegas and California. So if you watch the movie, you will be enthralled by the visualness, the fantasy of this fictional Italian crime family. They even go all the way into Italy. You gotta watch it. It's a must definitely watch movie. I wish they would just settle the issues and create a Godfather 4 and a Godfather 5 and a Godfather 6. It's just too good. It's just too good not to do. But I digress. Godfather 1, it's on Peacock, streaming on Paramount Plus. Check it out. It's a good movie. Thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in. Peace, love, always. One.